Yes guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to episode number 19 of our EAFC25 Rebuild Career Mode here with Sheffield Wednesday. I hope you're doing well and I hope the weather is better wherever you are compared to where I am, because it's absolutely tipping it down, thunder and lightning, and not a good place to be right now in England. So I hope it's better where you are. But we start off this episode with a couple of new additions to the Youth Academy, both strikers, both from England. The first of them is Sean Garner, 65 rated striker, just 17 years old, and the second of those is Billy Drew, again 65 rated, 17 years old as well, a little bit taller, potential up to 90, and both of these players could be ones for the future. Obviously we'll develop them in the Youth Academy, and as and when obviously we feel the need that they're ready or we need them to come into the first team, we will bring them through. Obviously we've just got Kadamurti back from injury, we've got Ikugbo, obviously we've got Ricky J. Jones as well now, so potentially not a need for them straight away, but definitely a couple of good young English strikers for the future. But as I say, not coming into the first team yet, but the first team is going into their first game of this episode, and it is against Luton Town away from home. And you could see there the main focal point for us is going to be Jacob Brown in that Luton front line. He has scored a number of goals before this game and he's going to be a real threat for Luton in this game. But obviously we're looking to get off to a good winning start on the first game of this episode, but unfortunately 10 minutes or just under 10 minutes into the game is actually Luton who are on top early doors at home. A decent chance originally for Adebayo. Fortunately for us, the goalkeeper did push around post and nothing came from a corner, but the break from a corner was really good. So our actual left back Max Lowe, he decides that it's not his position to be in, plays it into Ikugbo. Ikugbo's through on goal, but unfortunately just one touch too many. Keeper closes him down, Kaminsky, and Kaminsky comes out and blocks the shot to make the save. And really, to be fair, probably actually really poor from Ikugbo, if we're being honest. He probably should have done better from where he was. And then we did get another chance for Ikugbo laying it back to Svante Ingolson. Decent shot, unfortunately hits the post and it goes out for a corner. Then from a resulting corner, Dom Iorfa gets the header, but unfortunately can't keep it down, and it does go over the crossbar, and the scores do stay at 0-0. But just over half an hour into the game, it is that man, last year's player of the season for us, Svante Ingolson. He scored a few rockets last season and he scored an absolute belter here with that left foot of his. Ball set up nicely for him, about 25-30 yards out. He smashes it with that left foot of his. We know he's got it in him, and he rifles it into the top corner to give us a good 1-0 lead. And as I say, player of the season last season, Svante Ingolson. He scored a couple of absolute bangers last season. He's picked up where he left off there and scored his first banger this season for us. So really good to see him obviously on the score sheet with those good goals. But we knew Luton were going to come back into the second half, and it was actually the goal scorer Svante Ingolson which gives the ball away there. Ball falls back to the Luton player, but unfortunately for him, unfortunately for us, Pierce Charles was there and manages to make the save, make the block, and it goes out for a corner. The corner comes in, it comes to Tom Lockyer, doesn't quite get the header, it falls, or a bit of ping pong here to be fair, gets back to Clark, he plays into Adebayo with a decent shot, but unfortunately slices it with that left foot of his, and it does go high and wide over the crossbar to keep the scores at 1-0. And we were actually doing really well in this game, and we get another good chance here from Ikugbo. Decent shot, but unfortunately a little bit too much on it, and the follow-up header does go over as well. But we found some really good chances in this game. Luton were playing free at the back, so we were getting loads of space down those wings, and we were actually performing really well. It was just about obviously keeping it solid defensively, and we did decide to make a change. Ikugbo coming off, and Bailey Kadamurti coming back from injury for his first appearance, and hopefully he can make a difference here. But Hayward picks it up here, pings it in with his left foot, and it's actually that man Kadamurti gets the header, but unfortunately straight down the keeper's throat and straight at him, so the scores do stay at 1-0. And then the last couple of seconds of the game, ball falls into Ingolson finds the youngster Hayward, decent shot from Hayward with his left foot, but unfortunately Kaminsky was there again to keep the ball out back of the net, and if it wasn't for Kaminsky in that Luton goal, we could have actually been 3, 4, possibly 5 goals up in this game. So definitely credits him, despite obviously being on the team that looks like they're going to lose. And then that final shot of the game, Kaminsky keeps another one out, and the scores do stay at 1-0. So a good win to start this episode, and then we do actually come off that episode with a position change for one of our young players from Youth Academy in Kai Drake. Obviously since the day he came up to the first team from Youth Academy, we wanted to use his 6'6" frame as a centre back, and he has finally got to the stage where he can be converted to a centre back, so we do make that change. And obviously he can still play in that midfield role, but he mainly has been playing, and he will play in this game against Hull. He will be playing as a centre back mainly, maybe not first team, but obviously on a rotational basis. Decent decent defender. He's played really well. He's got the odd mistake in him, which we've seen throughout obviously this series, but he's a really solid, and hopefully he'll grow with the team. And as I say, 6'6", still only 17 years old, and definitely a player for the future. And as I say, he is starting this game. Bernard is back from injury, but as with all injuries, it's going to take him a few games to get fully back fit and back into the first team fold. So Drake's coming into that left centre back role this game, and it is a game against Hull City at home at Hillsborough, and the conditions were awful. You can see here, rain, wind, absolutely horrendous conditions to play football in. It was Hull who actually got the better start to the game, a couple of decent chances for them. Fortunately for us, couldn't put any of them away, but we do get our first chance of the game 18 minutes into the game. It's for youngster Alex Campbell on that left foot, but unfortunately couldn't get his shot past the goalkeeper, and the scores do stay at 0-0. But Joseph, a Hull striker, he made a good turn there, decent shot, another good save from Pierce Charles, and you'll see throughout this game Joseph got some really good opportunities, and he was a real player that was causing us problems in our back line. But nothing really in the first half. We get to second half, and Kai Drake, he pings the ball all the way out to Jamal Lowe. Jamal Lowe picks the ball up, but a bit of a heavy touch here. The defender gets there, Jamal Lowe slides in, and unfortunately, in that position, when the referee doesn't play advantage and the referee pulls it up, you know exactly what's coming out here. And unfortunately for us, we do go down to 10 men, and it is Jamal Lowe, a complete rush of blood, rush to the head just after half time, and you can see on the replay there, to be fair, studs up right down the back of the Hull City defender's legs, and we can't really have any complaints about that one. So unfortunately, we have got a whole 45 minutes to play the game with 10 men, but we weren't going to let that put us down. We were still going to try and perform strongly defensively. Joseph with another good shot there, and a good save from Pierce Charles. And then we got another opportunity for us here. Campbell plays into Aikugbo down that left wing. Not really where we want Aikugbo, to be fair, but he finds Campbell again. Aikugbo picks the ball back up, drives into centre where we want him, and fires one in with that right foot past goalkeeper into the far side to give us a 1-0 lead. So we've gone down to 10 men, but it looks to have really rejuvenated us. The boys who are on the pitch are obviously playing really well, playing for each other, and we do get the 1-0 lead, and now it's all about hanging on to that. But we get another chance here just 5 minutes later. Ingleson with that left foot of his pings an early cross in with the left foot, and it's Aikugbo once again, stoops down low, gets the header and puts it past goalkeeper. So from a boring first half with bad conditions, a really poor start to second half, obviously with that red card for Jamal Lowe, to absolute jubilation for those Wednesday fans to put us 2-0 up. Unfortunately, that wasn't going to last forever. Joseph, we've mentioned him a few times here, he's had some opportunities, he was causing us real problems. He does manage to get his goal that he probably deserved, to be fair, with a decent shot from the edge of the box past Pierce Charles, and now it was just about keeping that lead and making sure they didn't score anymore. But they got another chance there. Luckily, the header goes wide of a post, and the scores do stay at 2-1. And then we get another chance here. Ricky J. Jones, who come on as a substitute, plays into Aikugbo. Aikugbo finds Ricky J. Jones once again, and then on that left foot of his, Ricky J. Jones, the free agent we signed at the start of this season, scores his first goal for the club, fires it past the Hull goalkeeper, and gives us a 3-1 lead, which at this stage of the game, we were fairly confident we weren't going to lose this one. Chalobah gets a good chance there, blocked by the defender unfortunately, but as I say, we've got about 5 minutes left. 3-1 up at home with the crowd behind us, and we should be okay. Even if we did concede another one, I don't think we would ever concede 2 goals from this position. Worse things have happened, and we've seen stranger things happen in this series already, but we were hoping we could stick to it. Ricky J. Jones plays the ball in once again. Ingleson with a decent shot, difficult angle to be fair, in a difficult position to get the shot away. Unfortunately, the goalkeeper saved it, and the follow-up was offside, but the scores did end 3-1, so a really good result, especially seeing as we were down to 10 men. Obviously we're at 0-0 at half time, and then a couple of messages from a couple of the defenders. The new one, Odafin, obviously he came on as a sub and was happy to get some game time, and Kai Drake was saying he's really happy with his game time as well. But just looking at the table before we go into the final game, we are actually, which is probably a shock to most people, top of the league. Haven't lost a game so far, us and Nottingham Forest, both with 5 wins, 1 draw and 0 losses, and we're looking in a really good position. So obviously long may that continue. As I said before, the first team looks really good. It's when we start picking up a few injuries or suspensions that are starting to creep in, which we need to worry a little bit about. But you can see already, obviously last season we lost Aikugbo for a good chunk of the season. We lost Alex Campbell for a good chunk of the season as well. And Aikugbo's our top scorer. Alex Campbell's our top assister in this season so far. So if we can keep those two fit, we feel confident we'll definitely be able to build something in this team. And as I say, only 6 games in, so still obviously really early doors, but a really good start to season. If we can continue that, then we can at least, as a minimum, like I said right at the start of this season, our main goal was to sort of get into the top half based on us finishing 15th last season. But if we can make a push of the playoffs, that'd be absolutely amazing. And I'm not expecting to stay top of the league for too long. Obviously there's some great teams in this league like Nottingham Forest themselves, but if we can stay in or around that sort of between 1st and 8th, then I'll be really happy, and I can definitely be confident that we can definitely do something, whether it's the rest of this season if we do get in the playoffs, or whether it's next season. I'm really confident we can do that, and part of that was obviously future planning as well. And 3 players we were looking at, obviously there's a few players that are coming out of contract at the end of the season, but 3 players we definitely wanted to tie down to new contracts and obviously not lose for free next season. The first of those was Pierce Charles, a young goalkeeper. He's been absolutely amazing for us, and we definitely didn't want to lose him, so definitely one we wanted to tie down. The second one was Fante Ingelsson. Obviously, as I mentioned before, player of the season last season, absolute cog in that midfield for us. His stamina is unbelievable. He's pretty much available for every single game. He's got a rocket of a left foot on him, and he just ties things together nicely in that midfield, so definitely want to tie him down. So we're really pleased to get that deal over the line. And the final player we wanted to get over the line in terms of their contract was Deshaun Bernard. Obviously missed the last couple of games due to injury, but a real solid centre-back alongside O'Orfa there. He's still only 24 years old, still definitely got room for growth. Already an amazing defender, to be fair. And as I say, he's got loads of room for growth, so he'll only get better going forward. And those 3 players were 3 of the key players we were looking to sign onto their new long-term contracts and obviously keep at the club. Now, we've spoken about it before, obviously we want to keep this save realistic. So for example, we're fully aware that big clubs might come in for Pierce Charles, for example, and if they do and they provide an offer that we think suitable for him, then we will let him go, because as I say, we want to keep it realistic, but obviously we don't want to lose these players on a free transfer, which is why we wanted to get them tied down to new contracts. And obviously we'll see what the future holds, but we do still have a fair few players still running their contracts down. Dominic Iorfa, Max Lowe, Chalobah, Jamal Lowe, Barry Bannon, who's retiring at the end of the season, Liam Palmer, for example. All of those except Liam Palmer are first team players, so we will be reviewing those contracts going forward and seeing if we want to offer them anyone else a new contract, but they are all players that are sort of in and around that 30 or older mark, so we're going to have a real think before we sign those 2 new contracts as to whether we want to sign them to new contracts and keep them at the club, or whether we think we've got enough in the youth academy, or whether we can get enough players in through transfers to replace those players. So watch this space on those guys, because as I say, they won't all be leaving for frees, they won't all be running down their contracts at the end of the season, but we're just not 100% sure what we're doing with who at the minute, so we'll obviously play that out as it comes. But we go into the final game of the season away from home in this game against Coventry, and if anyone watched obviously the last season and watched the games against Coventry, you'll know that we came into massive problems against 2 of the Coventry players in Hadji Wright and from Mason Clark, and they continued that form in this game, to be fair. And you saw at the start of this game a couple of really good chances from Hadji Wright, and unfortunately for us, Hadji Wright picks the ball up there, Pierce Charles rushes out, absolutely gets caught in no man's land. He was never going to get there with Hadji Wright's speed, and Hadji Wright just plays the ball into Patterson, and Patterson just plays it into an open net with Pierce Charles in absolute no man's land, as I say, and gives Coventry the 1-0 lead. I mean, it's Patterson again with a decent chance there, but again, good save from Pierce Charles this time, making up for obviously that error that he did make where we did concede the goal. But we were going to keep going. Ricky J. Jones using his pace down the middle of the park there, plays into a bow but couldn't quite get anything out of it. Ball eventually finds itself to Ingelsson, but he couldn't cap off that new contract with a goal, and unfortunately spoons that shot over the bar. But again, it's Ricky J. Jones once again using his pace, plays the ball into Aikugbo. Bit of a poor finish, if I'm being honest. I feel like the goalkeeper should have done better there, but we'll definitely take it. And Aikugbo gets another goal for us to bring the scores back to 1-0. Coventry will still come in. Hadji Wright, a decent shot there, but a good block by Dom Iorfa. But like I say, and like when we were obviously looking through the squad list before, we lost Aikugbo and Alex Campbell both for prolonged periods of time last season, and that definitely I felt had an impact on us, and I think that's proof now. Like I said, Aikugbo's now got 8 goals in the league this season, and Alex Campbell's got 4 assists this season as well. So if we can keep those 2 fit, I feel like we can definitely push up the table, but it's if we can keep those couple fit. And obviously there's other players that we need to keep fit as well, but they're 2 that really can be the difference makers in that attack for us. But this game's going to come to an end obviously at 1-1, so unfortunately only a point there, but Jamal Lowe's back for next game. But that is going to bring this episode to an end. As always, please hit that like button, please subscribe if you want to follow the journey, comment any suggestions down below. As always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.